Coming up, the Trump tariffs. Where do they stand now? The latest after a roller coaster week on the markets. One-on-one with Mayor Brandon Johnson as he gets close to wrapping up the teachers' union contract. Where are the air traffic controllers? Our investigation into a big problem plaguing our airports. Plus, the drama over the home of Riot Fest continues. Should kids register with the state when they get a new phone? And Billy Corgan is ready to take the stage at the Opera. This is your Fox 32 Chicago Week in Review.
China's most recent move is a response, of course, to what President Trump did already this week when he raised tariffs on China to about 125%. Then they came back and said, actually, that's 145%. So China was specifically excluded from Donald Trump's 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs for many countries. China's trade ministry says if the U.S. insists on continuing to substantially infringe on China's interests, well, then China will counterattack and fight to the end. Their words. This all comes after a big sell-off on Wall Street. The question now, is there any chance of de-escalation between China and the U.S.?
I think it's going to be extremely difficult. For one thing, Xi Jinping has configured the Chinese political system so that only the most hostile answers are considered acceptable.
Maybe not another scene like we just said for a while. China claims that this is their final tariff hike, saying that tariffs at this level already make U.S. goods, in their words, unmarketable. The stocks are going to open at 8:30 this morning. All eyes will be on what happens. We'll have updates on how the latest tariffs from China could impact the stock market today.
Yesterday's market rally turning out to be short-lived as the Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ nosedive at the opening bell.
It's not over. I mean, these are the first skirmishes, and these tariffs debates will go on for perhaps many, many more months.
The poor start for Wall Street comes after President Trump lowered his import tax back to 10%, but raised tariffs for China.
China chose the path of going against Donald Trump. I mean, he said, don't retaliate. If you retaliate, then you're going to feel my wrath. And that's what happened.
White House officials say there are trade deals on the table from at least 15 countries. But some experts believe the damage is already done. JP Morgan still puts the likelihood for a U.S. recession at 60%, while Goldman Sachs lowered its prediction from 65 to 45%.
See, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's a transition to... I think it's a transition to greatness.
But lawmakers view the president's negotiation tactics rather differently.
We have an absolute genius of an entrepreneur, number one, and one that loves our country and making sure that we're going to be, at the end of the day, in a much better position.
This is government by chaos. He keeps changing things from day to day.
The White House is cheering new numbers showing inflation cooled off last month. But analysts say that too could be short-lived if businesses pass along their tariff costs. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox 32 Chicago.
Nearly 30,000 teachers, clinicians, and paraprofessionals are voting on what the union called an historic contract. They vote here at CTU headquarters or at schools around the city, and the union says that they will count those votes over the weekend. Union leaders in the House of Delegates recommended the contract, which includes raises of 4 to 5% for each of 4 years. There will be class size limits, more prep time for elementary teachers, and a bigger budget for arts and sports. It took a year to land the contract. One CPS board resigned, another was appointed, and the CPS chief executive officer is leaving at the end of this school year. CTU President Stacey Davis Gates said that the contract is what teachers and students deserved all along.
Why you got to go on strike, why you have to have marathon negotiations, to give children what they deserve already. I can't quite reconcile that. So that, to me, lingers and it gnaws at me.
The voting started yesterday, will be completed today, and then it goes on to the 21-member school board for a final vote.
A candid Mayor Johnson acknowledges the rocky road he traveled that led to a tentative contract agreement in our exclusive one-on-one this afternoon. He touts new investments in struggling neighborhood schools, but will it turn around their fortunes? The mayor today praising the $1.5 billion 4-year contract deal that includes 4 to 5% raises for teachers, smaller classroom sizes, and more classroom prep time.
I brought people together We have labor peace, and there are actual real wins in this contract that protects Black history. It protects the LGBTQ plus community. It protects veteran teachers, overwhelmingly women.
But he singled out one other provision, an investment to expand the amount of so-called sustainable community schools from 20 to 50.
This is a model where neighborhoods work with the neighborhood to secure additional resources to respond to the unique needs of that particular school.
Except those schools have been some of the poorest performing in the district, according to a new study from the libertarian-leaning Illinois Policy Institute and based on data from the Illinois State Board of Education.
On average, they have the worst reading scores, the worst math scores, the highest absenteeism rate, the lowest graduation rates, the highest dropout rates, and they cost more per pupil.
Mayor Johnson touts the Southside's Diet High School as a sustainable community school success story, especially considering its recent boys basketball state championship. But the IPI study shows Diet is having one of the poorest outcomes of all CPS high schools, with only 4.5% of students reading at grade level and less than 1% performing at grade level in math, and 70% of students with chronic absenteeism. Johnson says the study gets it wrong.
Of course, you're going to have a right-wing extreme group that wants to minimize the progress, particularly for poor children. And so here's what I'm committed to doing, is to ensure that every single child has access to a publicly funded, well-funded neighborhood school with class sizes that are small, right? The sustainable community schools model that really allows for local participation.
But the IPI worries the expanded investment in sustainable community schools shows little promise of paying off.
This is adding services, it's adding staff, and that's going to drive up the cost of these schools without Chicagoans getting something in return.
Chicago Teachers Union members are expected to complete their vote to ratify the new contract early next week.
An immigration attorney, a local attorney, says that nationwide there have been at least 5 lawsuits filed against the federal government when it comes to these revoked visas, and he predicts 1 to 2 more cases filed here in the Chicago area sometime next week.
The University of Chicago is a diverse campus with 100 countries represented. International students make up nearly 24% of the student body.
Especially a place like this. The idea is to open your eyes to new perspectives, new experiences, new people that you haven't interfaced with.
But students say there is tension on campus after the Department of State announced the Catch and Revoke program targeting international students studying in the States with visas. Immigration attorney Bob White says in the last 2 weeks, more than 1,000 students have been impacted across the country.
The grounds, possibly a criminal offense in the past, but there's also many students with no criminal offenses who also are having their visas revoked.
At the University of Chicago, 7 current or recent graduates have now had their visas revoked and their student records terminated.
It's very unprecedented that you have both a visa revocation and a status termination because one doesn't necessarily lead to another, and it's just not the proper procedure.
White says the students have 3 options: self-deport and reapply for a visa, stay in the U.S. and apply for reinstatement, or sue the government. A spokesperson for U Chicago says they're offering the impacted students legal help and adds, quote, the university has a long history of supporting America's position as a magnet for talented people from across the globe, and we will continue to work to assist the members of our international community.
The immigration attorney says to his knowledge, no local international students have actually been detained by ICE, but he does say that there was a case up in Minnesota where a college student, international student, was detained by ICE up there. Other universities, including Northwestern, University of Illinois at Champaign, University of Illinois at Chicago, all say they too have had international students with their visas revoked recently. Reporting from University of Chicago tonight, Elizabeth Matthews, Fox 32, Chicago.
Rescue teams are shifting to recovery mode in the Dominican Republic days after a roof collapsed at a nightclub in the capital, Santo Domingo. The death toll jumped overnight to more than 180 people. Dozens more are injured.
They are patients who were trapped for hours under the rubble with multiple fractures and various injuries.
Early Tuesday, the nightclub was crowded with musicians, athletes, and government officials when dust began falling from the ceiling. Minutes later, the roof caved in, killing some people instantly and trapping dozens of others. Dominican police say the country's 911 system received several calls from people buried under the rubble.
The place is totally destroyed. The whole roof came down. There is no chance. A large number of dead and desperate people are asking for help.
Yesterday, crews from Puerto Rico and Israel arrived to help sift through the debris. Officials say the chance of finding more survivors is slim, and now they're focused on locating and identifying bodies. Families have been gathering outside of a morgue and say they're frustrated, waiting for news about their missing loved ones.
Their vehicle was here. There are videos of them dancing here, and that's how we found out. So far, they have not given us any clues.
Authorities say it's still unclear what caused the roof to collapse and when the building was last inspected. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Right now it's at about 33 feet, Kia, and it's getting higher slowly but surely. This is the Green River behind me, and you can see it's definitely surpassed its banks. But let me go ahead and show you what we're looking at. There used to be a park or a road or something down here, and that's evident from the light pole that you see right there in the middle of the water. The water is coming right up to about the halfway point of that light pole. Now, if we go a little bit to the left and behind this tree, you'll see a pavilion that belongs at a park and another structure and maybe a few road signs that are partially submerged. Under that pavilion, any tables or chairs that were under there are completely underwater, and there's also some mobile homes over here that look like they may have taken some flood damage as well. Now, this river is expected to crest on Thursday at nearly 35 feet, the highest it's been since 1950. It is the result of 13 straight days of severe weather. Calhoun got over a foot of rain during that time. Some people are even using boats to get around, including one man who was picking up his dad this morning.
I just went and picked him up and brought him out. He's got a prosthetic leg and stuff. It's just hard for him to get around and drive the boat, do everything himself, so I try to help him out as much as I can.
And the American Red Cross has set up a shelter at a nearby church. The shelter supervisor says that they haven't hit capacity yet, but more people are coming in.
The people they don't realize that they've got to get out, most of them. You know, a lot of people don't like to leave or they have pets, and that's an issue.
And of course, travel is another big issue around here. We just heard from the fire chief just moments ago. He was saying that dozens of roads are closed off in this area, and there's already not many roads in this part of Kentucky to begin with. So you can imagine the routes that people are having to take to go around this flooding. Now, when it comes to where does this water go, we're talking about weeks until we could finally see it gone completely. This river you see behind me also drains up to the Ohio River, just like many rivers in Kentucky do. When it's there in Illinois, it meets with the Mississippi River and goes down to the Gulf from there. And this could be weeks of downstream flooding that we're talking about.
Coming up, the drama over the home of Riot Fest continues. Should kids register with the state when they get a new phone? And Billy Corgan is ready to take the stage at the Opera. This weekend, kick back and catch up with Fox 32 on Fox Local. Recap the week's must-know news.
This weekend, you're going to be dealing with a lot of closures downtown.
Relive Fox 32's best.
He's not just coming at you, he's coming at you with something that he just caught.
Plus the latest political and sports buzz.
Is this a role that you like, kind of going on the attack?
There's plenty of excitement here. Watch live or anytime on demand. Weekends at Fox 32 on Fox Local. Download now on these streaming services.
There is a shortage. There has been a shortage of air traffic controllers for well over a decade. And it's a matter of just not getting enough people into the pipeline and through the training that's required.
Henry Krakowski is a retired United Airlines pilot with 30 years' experience in the cockpit. He also worked for the FAA as its COO, overseeing the nation's air traffic control system. We took a look at the FAA's latest staffing report on air traffic controllers with him.
All the Chicago airports, O'Hare, Midway, and including the satellite airports like DuPage and Waukegan, staffing numbers look pretty good compared to other places in the country.
Krakowski adds, There's also a plan to increase staffing at Midway and O'Hare. According to the FAA, there is a shortage of about 3,500 controllers nationwide.
The place that's really hurting in the country is Florida. Jacksonville, Air Route Traffic Control Center, and Miami. It gets so bad sometimes with the shortages that they actually have to shut airspace down and limit traffic sometimes. So they actually put a limit on the number of airplanes that can fly into Florida when they get really tight on staffing or just don't have enough people to cover a shift.
Krakowski says that's happened a few times just in the past few months. Tight staffing or staffing shortages affecting flights are something air passengers may have to get used to for a while.
It takes years to make a controller, 2 to 3 years to what they call mint a controller to be certified. So it's a long process. Sometimes people wash out of it.
American 580 Heavy, turn left at taxiway Delta, contact ground.
American 580 Heavy, roger, turn left at Delta, contact ground.
Lewis University in Romeoville is home to one of the FAA's 36 air traffic college training programs in the U.S., and it's the only one in Illinois. Michael Julius is the director of the program's Air Traffic Control Department. He's also a retired air traffic controller himself who's worked at Midway and several other major Midwest airports.
It's a fun job once you understand the nuances of the job. It is actually a lot of fun. Every day you come in, things are going to be different, and it's going to be challenging, but that's part of the job.
Having been in the hot seat himself for years, he knows firsthand what it takes to get the job done. For students, he says the biggest challenge is being able to keep up with the pace of the class.
Most people are thinking, oh, I can get it right the next time. As you know, that doesn't work well with our job. You have to be right. It's just a simple part of the job. You have to be right. When you work in ground control, you work traffic to and from the active runway. That's what you're doing. Okay, Alex is working local control. He clears aircraft to land and for takeoff.
I'm an athlete too. I play hockey. And so when you're counted on to score a big goal or to shut down another team's offensive push, there's a lot of pressure, but I found myself to not buckle under that pressure.
Alex Bryjak is a senior air traffic control major at Lewis. He equates working in an air traffic control tower with running a sports clock, where seconds count in both places.
It's the same thing here. Sometimes you only have that quick to make a decision.
As Bryjak finishes up his coursework, he's waiting to hear from the FAA when he'll be admitted to their Air Traffic Controller Academy in Oklahoma City. 97% of Lewis students have been accepted into the academy in the last 5 years. Bryjak passed the entrance exam last December.
I have no idea. It could be over the summer, it could be next year, it could be 2 years from now. I have no idea.
The FAA Academy is only a few months, but is said to be grueling with many students washing out.
At the academy, they will teach you something in the morning. In the afternoon, they expect you to apply it correctly.
For those who do finish, they're often assigned to work at airports in cities or states where they are not from. Julia says that can also make it difficult to keep air traffic controllers on the job.
But what they're trying to do now is establish the area they came from and send them back to that area, because more than likely, you'll stay, you already have some type of support system and everything else in that area, and you'll flourish.
To help with that process, Julia says Lewis University is working on becoming an enhanced air traffic collegiate training program, where students could continue on after their 4-year degree.
We're going to be basically just like Oklahoma City, but we would train here so they can go from here directly into the facilities, and that will hopefully streamline a little bit and bring it forward a little bit as far as numbers.
To do that, Lewis is renovating a new space on campus and getting some new equipment as well. No matter what changes lie ahead, Alex Bryjak is waiting in the wings for his career to take off.
I also used to watch a lot of shows and documentaries when I was younger on plane crashes, and I was always fascinated with why these things happen and what can I do to prevent these in the future.
Krakowski says there are a few other maneuvers the government could make to help reduce the air traffic controller shortage, like Congress approving emergency funding for the FAA so they can hire more people faster, and for the FAA to rethink its mandatory retirement age for air traffic controllers, which is 57 years old.
Lawndale residents have been speaking out for nearly 3 years about Riot Fest and everything that comes with it. In fact, since last year's festival, there's been nearly 60 community engagement meetings. Riot Fest, now in its 20th year, a new agreement reinvesting 30% of revenue back into Douglas Park. It's an estimated $1 million over the next 5 years.
30% of permit fees will pay directly to help fund essential park improvements, including new restrooms, renovated entrance fountain, restored grass and soil, enhanced infrastructure, and so much more.
Community members have long complained about loud noise, park accessibility, parking, and disruptions to nearby hospitals. Resident Princess Shaw is among those working behind the scenes.
We're going to start actually seeing economic development. We're going to see actual economic investment. Just throwing a few dollars here and there, that doesn't cut it, right?
North Lawndale Douglas Park has suffered from historic disinvestment, and we know that $1 million is not enough.
The historic 173-acre park offers recreational and cultural activities, but check out the conditions. It's field house with crumbling stone and a decaying facade. And yeah, there's a swimming pool, but come with me inside the girls' and boys' bathrooms. Exposed and aging plumbing, stained walls, rust. Conditions long overdue for renovation.
This $1 million is in addition to the $5.7 million that will be invested in the field house with the support of a State of Illinois grant, as well as millions more that we hope to get from the City of Chicago.
The three-day festival taking place September 19th through the 21st attracts 50,000 punk, rock, alternative metal, and hip-hop fans every day, enjoying top bands from around the world. You all got results because you continue to fight. You continue to figure out the system, which many folks didn't even understand.
So I would say just keep pushing, right? Push until you get something.
Now, also new this year, expanded access to park amenities. More off-site parking is going to be available. A date change no longer overlapping with the Mexican Independence Day parade. Finally, improved signage and sound management. Now, we expect the full lineup for Riot Fest to be released on April 23rd. In Lawndale, Nate Rogers, Fox 32 Chicago.
Complete debacle for going on for years. Don't make no sense.
Community activist Bob Israel says the two lots at the southwest corner of 72nd and Normal are the scourge of the neighborhood.
It's an eyesore, and I know it's rodents and everything over there, but they've been complaining so long. You know this Inglewood. I think these people's spirits broke.
Scattered across the two lots, a mishmash of older cars, boats, and motorcycles, interspersed between piles of trash.
All these vacant lots and kids going missing, yes, clean it up a little bit so it will have a better presence.
What neighbors call the unlicensed junkyard is now the subject of an investigation by Block Club Chicago, which found one of the two properties is owned by the city, the other by a Chicago man who says it's no longer his. And when we visited, we found another man at the site.
Do you own this property? No.
You do not?
No. I leased it, and I was paying rent on it.
Jerry Bell lives in a trailer on the property, which he says was owned by a former Chicago cop who died several years ago. As for all the vehicles,
people basically donate stuff to me to see if I can fix it and get rid of it to help me out.
What do you say to people who are calling this an unlicensed junkyard?
It's not a junkyard. Can't nobody buy nothing. That's what I'm trying to tell them. The cars are not abandoned.
One thing I know is that the frustration they have is a frustration that I have as well.
6th Ward Alderman William Hall says he's been trying to clear the property through ticketing and fines since he took over as alderman 2 years ago, and says the number of vehicles has been reduced by about half. But he says since one of the lots is privately owned, it can take years to get through the courts.
It's not only an eyesore, but it's a safety concern. And again, it is better than what it was, but we're not done yet.
If the city tells you all these cars and boats have to go?
That's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to make it to where I can find somewhere to put them.
The alderman says if there weren't a fence here, they'd be able to tow and impound the cars immediately because of that fence, though. He says they could face a lawsuit if they do something before going to court, and that could take years to settle. In Englewood, Dane Placco, Fox 32 Chicago.
The New York Times reports the Trump administration has ordered $790 million withheld from Northwestern. The move comes as the administration investigates a number of top universities for alleged civil rights violations and claims of anti-Semitism. Tonight, Cornell University was hit with a $1 billion freeze. All told, the Trump administration has frozen more than $3 billion in funding for elite universities.
Now, we've just received a statement from Northwestern saying the university has not received official notification of this freeze and is cooperating with federal investigations. The statement also says federal funds that Northwestern receives drive innovative and life-saving research, like the recent development by Northwestern researchers of the world's smallest pacemaker and research fueling the fight against Alzheimer's disease. We will, of course, keep you updated.
Coming up, should kids register with the state when they get a new phone? Robots visit the Good Day Chicago crew. And Billy Corgan is ready to take the stage at the opera.
Lou, what you doing?
Hey, Caitlin, I'm looking for this stream everyone's talking about.
Fox Local?
Yeah.
Get me. App Store, download Fox Local, open it, pick Chicago, boom.
Oh, that was easy. Hey, Paris. Hey, I got this stream on my phone finally.
I'm on there.
Everyone's on this thing.
Now you can watch Paris on Politics anytime, anywhere.
Hey, Anita, I'm on Fox Local.
I know, Lou. I watch you on Bears Blitz on Fox Local.
Fox Local. This is big stuff.
Glad I could help.
Many species have gone extinct over millions of years, but science is helping one previously wiped out animal return, sort of. Dire wolves once roamed the earth more than 10,000 years ago, but now scientists at Colossal Biosciences, a biotech company aiming to rebuild the DNA of ancient creatures, say they have done just that, all with the help of modern-day gray wolves.
A gray wolf is the closest living relative of a dire wolf. They're genetically really similar, 99.5% similar. Only dire wolves are larger, more muscular, and have these light-colored coats and other things that we can see from the fossils.
Scientists targeted specific DNA variants that they believed were responsible for dire wolf traits.
And then we edited gray wolf cells to contain those dire wolf DNA variants. And then we cloned those cells and created our dire wolves.
Researchers say the process is similar to IVF,
where you take hormones and it makes a lot of egg cells ripen at the same time, and then you take them and then you fertilize them in addition in a lab. But we're not fertilizing them. Instead, we're taking those ripe egg cells and we're taking out the genetic material that would have come from mom, and we're putting in a whole cell that has mom's and dad's genetic material. That's our edited cell.
The breakthroughs have led to 3 genetically engineered wolves that resemble dire wolves.
Or at least what we think dire wolves might have looked like.
Teams say the pups, now just a few months old, are healthy and doing well.
The so-called Digital Age Assurance Act would make Illinois the first state in the country to require all residents to register their birth date when they get a new cell phone or electronic device. The purpose, to protect children under 18 from adult content.
It's every parent's nightmare, their young children with unfettered access to harmful online content. But Illinois State Senator Willie Preston says there's a near fail-safe way to protect kids under 18. Pass a law that requires Illinoisans to enter their birth date when they purchase a new cell phone or electronic device.
This is a one-time acts to identify who you are, and from that point forward, you are identified as either an adult or an underage person.
Preston says the phone would store the information and then block kids under 18 from accessing adult websites or apps, even though kids typically find ways around the rules.
You got a bunch of 10, 11, 12-year-olds and less, younger, running around as 25-year-olds online. And online is the real world, and we need to stop it, and we can.
He says the law would ensure the information isn't shared and that no other personal information is involved. The bill is supported by the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which says it would protect them from predatory websites. But it is opposed by groups like Planned Parenthood, Equality Illinois, and the ACLU. They say there are significant questions about privacy.
How much of that information will get stored? Where will it be stored? Who will have access to it? And how securely will it be protected?
The ACLU's Ed Yonka also says it would potentially block access to adult content that children might not feel comfortable talking about with their parents.
Information about health, about safety, about identity, about sexual identity, sexual orientation. These are things which young people often explore through the internet and through various sites that they'll be blocked from as the result of this, which could cause real harm to those children.
The bill is currently sitting in a subcommittee on social media and AI in the General Assembly.
All right, we're not that far away from Earth Day, and locally there is a concerning shift involving oak trees. Some of them are dying here in Chicago rather rapidly. Patrick Etherington is a certified arborist, and he joins us from Sunset Woods in Highland Park here with Davy Trees there in Lake Bluff. Patrick, first of all, you think of an oak tree and immediately you assume, hey, sturdy, it's not going anywhere. What's going on with the oak trees here?
Well, that's right. They do seem pretty impervious, but because of shifts we've seen in the weather, a little bit too much water in the last decade, and now we're having what we kind of term as a sneaky drought now. They're being stressed in ways that we don't necessarily see all the time. So even if they look healthy now, you may want to be checking them out for signs of stress.
Patrick, is this the oak wilt that you're talking about, which is like a fungal disease, or what is exactly happening to the trees?
No, the overall term we call it is oak decline, and it's a combination of many things. Because the trees are stressed, a lot of the energy they would normally have for defense is down, and so they're under attack by insects and diseases like oak wilt that normally might not bother them, but now they're vulnerable to.
All right, we're walking around our various properties, and let's say we have some oak trees. How do you know if your oak tree is having difficulty, the distress that you're talking about? And then what can homeowners do to protect and save those valuable trees?
Well, some of the things we as arborists look for, signs in the trees, are going to be tip dieback, maybe early leaf coloration. And these are things that are maybe subtle, so it'd be a good idea if you've got nice old oak trees on the property to get a certified arborist out, take a look at the trees, and we can listen to what the trees are saying and check things like the soil for moisture levels and the trees if they're got signs of the diseases or the insects.
I'm glad you brought up the moisture level, because a lot of times people actually overwater their trees. We've had drought conditions, which interestingly went away as of the new drought data today. But what role does overwatering play in the decline of oak trees?
Well, our soils in the Chicago region are very heavy clay, and it's really easy. That means the pore spaces are smaller, and it's really easy to saturate those, and the trees' roots aren't getting enough oxygen then. And a lot of our yards in the suburbs have irrigation systems, and so we just respond by pressing the water button and giving them too much water. So that was actually kind of what snuck up on us, was it was too much water. So checking the soil levels, and it's something as easy as getting something like a simple moisture meter, which is about a $10 purchase. You can go out and just insert it into the soil, and it will tell you. They'll say dry, moist, or wet, and ideally we want moist soils.
Okay.
It's okay if they're dry for a day or two or wet, but we want them moist.
All right, well, that is great advice there, yeah. And, obviously, if folks are seeing some of the signs that you talked about where maybe, premature fall foliage popping up in springtime, that would be a bad sign. Yep. They'll give Davy Tree, and you can come out there and check out their trees and prescribe the right remedy. Patrick Etherington, we appreciate you joining us this morning, and let's hope that the oak trees don't go the same way with the ash trees, with the emerald ash borer. Lost so many great hardwoods here.
I'm having my coffee. Brian, this is like the elixir of life, my friend, all right? I don't know if you're too young to remember Juan Valdez. You know the Folgers commercials? You know the guy with the coffee beans? You're probably too young. Anyway, he should get a Nobel Prize. You know why? Coffee is full of antioxidants and polyphenols. It will prolong your life, reduce your risk of dementia, reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes. It's all good. Now, this study showed how you prepare it can actually make it even better. And that has to do with the fact that if you use the paper filters, you know those, where you put the grinds in and the water kind of goes through it, that reduces the level of these compounds known as diterpenes, and they can elevate your cholesterol. The worst kind is boiling coffee, like my parents used to do, all right, and things like espresso. But I'm not stopping that because I love espresso.
Well, Dr.
So
Mike,
if you want to go pure, do the filters.
well, what about people who love iced coffees? Because that seems to be a thing that's kind of really picking up these days.
Well, again, it all depends on how you prepare the coffee. I think with iced coffee, you still have to get the bean and the water together somehow, right? So you have to either filter it or you can use K-cups, which is what I do. There's a lot of ways to prepare coffee, but if you want to do it the right way or the best way, I would let it kind of go through those paper filters. In fact, why don't you tell the GM at your station that Dr. Mike said, come on, man, it's about time, or woman, it's about time you get the right kind of coffee maker for our people here.
I will make sure she knows that for sure. Right, well, switching gears a little bit now.
There you go. Tell her Dr. Mike said, I thought you loved us. Come on.
She loves us very much, Dr. Mike.
Come on.
Researchers, though, suggest, that cutting back on your calories 3 days a week may actually lead to more weight loss compared to daily dieting. The study says that this method is actually better than intermittent fasting. So exactly how and why does this method work, Dr. Mike?
So, Brian, it is intermittent fasting, but I'll coin a phrase. It's intermittent fasting. So what you do is you cut back on the calories 3 days a week, but not consecutive days. So maybe Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you cut your calories back by like 80%. And the study found you'll lose about 17 pounds over a year. And the trick here is that you're able to maintain that as opposed to trying to do it every day, and then you get tired of it, and then you're out of there. I've been intermittently fasting for 5 years. It works for me. People think I'm nuts, but I have 1 meal a day.
1 meal a day? I don't know how you do that and you get up and you have all this energy with just one meal a day, Dr. Mike.
I try to eat the right kinds of foods, and I have more energy. I drink coffee with no sugar in it. I use stevia, and I stay hydrated. And if you do that, I find it works for me. Now, who shouldn't do it? Diabetics, pregnant women, young people. There's a lot of reasons not to do it. But if you're middle-aged and you want to try it, you're not pregnant, you don't have diabetes, you might want to try this. Give it a go.
Well, you look good,
but
so
you don't need it, Brian,
because
you look like $1 million, man. You look phenomenal.
I'm trying to look like you, Dr. Mike.
Phenomenal.
All right, thanks so much for your time.
I'm trying to look like you, man. Come on.
You have to kind of zoom in. There we go. Yeah, so small. And Paige, you have on black too today, so it's
We're matching.
Hard to see the little one there, but it's always a good day when our friends from Paw Chicago are in studio, especially when they bring our pet of the week. And this time, it's one of our feline friends, Paige, who's here.
Yes, so this is Chicago. She is
Won't forget that name.
Right? Very easy to remember. She is a 2-month-old kitten and is looking for a home. But the way she came to Paw Chicago is so sweet.
Okay,
One of our foster volunteers found a pregnant stray cat who she took into her home, and that cat gave birth to 3 adorable, sweet kittens. And Paws Chicago was able to take in all 3 kittens plus the mom to get them spayed, neutered, vaccinated, and now they are each up for adoption.
Oh my goodness, and the way that she's looking at you, it's just like...
She's so sweet. I fostered her overnight, and so she's very attached, but I can tell you she's a great house guest, so sweet and snuggly, so she'll do well in any home.
I do believe so. I do believe so. Okay, so tell us a little bit about this last week that you all had, because Paw Chicago was hosting Animal Magnetism. Our own Jake Hamilton was the MC for it. How did it go?
It was great. Last Friday was incredible. It was our 18th annual sold out Animal Magnetism.
Come on.
We're very excited about. And it was a record-breaking year. The final numbers are still coming in, but we fundraised over $300,000.
Awesome.
And these events are so important for Paw Chicago.
Look at the babies on the screen.
I know. This, of course, is dog-friendly. We had over 700 guests, and all of our guests are invited to bring their dogs, so that's always a ton of fun. But this fundraising event is so important because we've received no public funding. We rely completely on the support of the community. community. So this helps us to continue to help homeless and at-risk pets around the city.
Yeah, no public funding, privately done, and yet you all are able to do so much.
We have incredible support. We have a massive foster and volunteer network. Of course, all the donors. And my favorite part of Animal Magnetism is the doggy buffet. Of course, we need to make sure the human and canine guests are well fed all night.
You all think of all the things for it.
Of course.
So you have the Dog's Day, but it's kitten season. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Why is like this time of year kitten season specifically?
Yes, so starting in the spring with the warmer weather, we start to see kitten season, which sounds adorable, but it's really a dangerous time for pets in the shelter environment. We just have unplanned litters as the weather gets warmer. And although it's not warm in Chicago yet, we've already entered kitten season. I would say Chicago is absolutely part of that. But there's a couple ways the community can help us in making the kitten season a little safer for pets. Of course, spay and neuter your own pets and any cats that might be in your community and unspayed. Paws Chicago has an incredible trap neuter return program, but we're also always looking for fosters. We say that for every pet that goes into a foster home, you save 2 lives. The pet that's in your home, oh my gosh, and then also the pet that we then have room to take in as well. But kittens are also among the most vulnerable populations in city shelters, so it's important that they are in a home to be raised happy and healthy and ready for that home environment when they do get adopted.
Well, I'm sure some people are listening to you right now that are thinking, I think I can do that, especially after seeing Chicago today. Anything else that we need to know? Anything else coming up?
Yeah, so if you are looking to foster, that's really our greatest need right now. pawschicago.org/foster. We have over 50 kittens in our care right now. We want more though, so with more fosters, we can take more in.
Coming up, Billy Corgan is ready to take the stage at the Opera. Robots visit the Good Day Chicago crew. And we end the week with a little magic. Fox Local, your smart TV source for streaming Fox 32 News. No antenna, no subscriptions. Good Day Chicago, the news at 9 and more.
Thanks for waking up with us on Good Day Chicago at 7.
Severe weather coverage, special events, live and unfiltered.
We do still have that tornado warning in effect.
And Fox 32 favorites on demand.
Is this a role that you like, kind of going on the attack?
This is like the trade of the century that we're going to continue to talk about.
Fox 32 on Fox Local. Download now on all major streaming platforms.
This is unlike anything that's ever been done, Sylvia, in the history of the Lyric Opera, and Billy Corgan says it's unlike anything that he's ever done. Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, of course, the iconic double album from 1995. This is its 30th year anniversary, so some rock stars, they'll go out on tour and perform the album. Billy Corgan doing something completely different, adapting this for a limited engagement run at the Lyric Opera of Chicago. We had the pleasure of sitting down with Billy Corgan at his Highland Park Tea Shop earlier this week for a long, expansive conversation, and he made it very clear to me, this is not going to be a rock opera.
First thing I said to Lyric is, I don't want opera to go rock. My fans don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I've seen where other bands have done it, always to kind of, in my estimation, a little bit of a mixed result. I think it's cool. We've even had it proposed to us, and I've always turned it down. This is a unique opportunity to recast my work thematically, aesthetically, in a totally different set of musical destinations. And that, to me, is like, oh my God, my brain just explodes, because I'm, as a composer, the Smashing Pumpkins version is only one version of the songs that I wrote. And having performed those songs over 30 years, I've done all those songs in different ways, slower, faster, more electronic, whatever. So I know they will adapt.
What's been the response from some of your subscription holders, some of your patrons? Are they thinking, yes, this is exactly the kind of cutting edge we want the Lyric to be doing, or are they a little cautious about it?
No, there's real excitement, and even from longtime subscribers, longtime patrons, longtime board members, they love that we're working with Billy because he's such a Chicago institution. Smashing Pumpkins came out of Chicago. So there's a real sense of civic pride around the project, and they love that we're doing something different. They're excited that we're going to have new audiences coming into Lyric for the first time and having this experience, and then hopefully they love it so much that they'll come back for something else.
So this limited engagement run of A Night of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness takes place in November. Tickets go on sale here tomorrow. I'm told by both parties that they are still conceiving this. They're still adapting the music. They're about to hold auditions. Billy Corgan will be in it. He won't be singing all the songs, but he will be taking a lead role in this. So you'll get to see Billy Corgan here at the Lyric Opera. Two iconic Chicago musical institutions coming together. Sylvia?
This is really cool, Paris. Now, you got to sit down and have a nice long interview with him. What did you get out of that interview? I know you're a fan, so this must have been incredible for you.
It was really incredible. You know, he's such a intellectual guy. He's got so many opinions on so many things. We talked about what it's like for that album to turn 30. We talked about this process. We talked about music and the future of music and AI, and he's saying that, you know, AI is about to take over all of music, that everything's about to change. He's a really passionate guy about Chicago too, Sylvia. He's involved in Pause, which I know you're involved in, and Fox 32 is involved in. So he's a real civic guy. He's a Highland Park native, and he's really excited about it. He's also a huge opera fan, which I didn't know. He comes regularly to the Lyric Opera, and he got the idea when he came here and saw Mozart's Requiem, and he said, you know what? I want to do something like this.
That's so neat.
So there you have it.
Carmel Catholic High School in Mundelein is about to send off this very special group of very bright students. They have created something absolutely unbelievable to show us in studio here. They're headed to the Global Championship Robotics event. It's in Houston, and they go by Not Your Average Nerds, NYAN. Look at these sweatshirts there. I love it. And their creation matches that title. There's nothing average about this. And joining the program, we have Darren, we have Santiago, and we have Ainsley. They're 3 out of a 15-member team, I should say. First of all, before we demo this thing, Ainsley, I'll start with you. What inspired this creation right here?
Yeah, so we get a challenge every year. So we just created a robot that met the needs of that challenge.
Okay, so the challenge was?
So it's a game where the robot places these blocks in these buckets or on like hanging rungs.
Okay, so it got some dexterity to it. Now, as we take a look at what this thing can do, Santiago, I don't know if you want to take control of this thing. Well, Darren answers how you guys qualified for this championship happening in Houston.
Yeah, so earlier in March, we actually competed at the Illinois State Championship, and we ended up winning the entire competition. So that got us a ticket to Worlds, which is happening mid-April next week, actually. And we'll be competing with about 250 other teams internationally.
All right, Santiago, take the helm here and kind of demo what this thing can do and run us through how it's operating here.
Yeah, for sure. So we drive around. We use Omni wheels, which allow us to go in any direction, unlike cars. And then we pick up blocks with the front, or we can pick them out the back.
Okay.
Like so.
There's the block.
And then we can score like so.
Look at how this thing moves. Yeah. How long did it take you guys to come up with this? How much work, how many months of work went into this, Ainsley?
Yeah, so we've been working since September on this. Yeah.
Okay, since September. And Darren, what was the most challenging part, would you say?
Definitely. So to actually make this robot move, we need code behind it. So code is a lot of trial and error. And, you know, when you have an issue with the robot, you have to decide whether it's a code issue or a build issue. And I guess it's a lot of the engineering process, just making sure this is consistent.
All right. I am super impressed. We just went through our top 5 most beloved robots. Does this thing have a name, Santiago?
Yeah, it does. We call it Bubbles, which is kind of a funny name, I guess.
Bubbles!
But, yeah.
That's great. How did you guys come up with Bubbles?
On the sides, we don't use full metal sheets. We use like cut out metal pieces, and it kind of reminded us of bubbles. So that's how we named it.
Nice. And Darren, the parts. How did these come together?
Yeah, so we actually 3D model our entire robot, and our robot is a combination of machine parts and 3D printed parts. So every part you see that's blue is 3D printed, and most of the metal parts are cut by one of our sponsors.
That's really cool. That is really cool. All right, so Ainsley, run us through what is happening with this competition and what you expect to happen here. I understand you're going against 250 other teams.
Yeah, so next week we're going to the first championship in Houston, and we're competing against over 200 teams. and we're really excited and hoping to do well.
Yes, the optimism. This is so impressive. You guys got to check back in with us after the competition. Let us know how it goes.
Get ready to be amazed. Mark Clearview is a magician, a comedian, and a mentalist all in one. He's bringing his talents here to Chicago to the Magic Lounge for 3 days starting today. So excited to have him in studio this morning for a little bit of a preview. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Brian. I'm celebrating your birthday. When is it?
April 26th.
Okay, a little early, but it's good. It's good. Well, I was going to celebrate today.
Okay.
I'm ready to go. I have a list of 50 random presents here, Brian.
50 random presents.
Yeah, I thought instead of you just thinking of one, which would be too succinct for me, we would just get you to look at one of these 50 random presents, and then I would try to predict what present you wanted to get. Does that make sense? Okay, great. I don't want you to show the camera, Brian, so I'm going to give you the list. You just peek, you look at one, you shut it, just see one.
Just see one.
I don't want you to get confused. Okay. Just see one, whatever the present is.
Do I get to pick, or I just know the first one?
First one you see, luck of the draw.
Cool.
I don't want you to get, like a car or something like that, okay? Don't show me. Lift it, look at one, shut it. Whatever word you see, that's the word that's going to be your present. Easy enough?
Sure.
This goes right here. There's a box in between us this whole time, Brian. It's been there since the very beginning. Brian, on the count of 3, you're going to reveal the word that you saw.
The word that I saw.
Ready?
Okay. Where's my hat?
I forgot it in the car. It's at the cleaners.
Okay.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
What is it? Say it.
Sweetener.
Sweetener?
Yeah.
Sweater.
I thought it said sweetener.
It was,
or maybe I saw it wrong.
Maybe you saw it wrong. Yeah, they all say sweater. So that's how this trick works. I'm just going to blow the trick. Literally every single page says sweater. They all just say sweater. But we can make one up. Sweetener. That's fun. You wanted sweetener for your birthday.
Yes.
Strange. A little bit strange. It's a good thing I thought of that because I just left something in the box just in case we would say it's a bunch of that's sweetener right there, just a bunch of sweetener packets.
Okay, I'm not going crazy.
You're going to say that. You're not going crazy. That's the magic. Woo! Excited.
How did you get into magic? Like, at what point did you feel like you're going to do this for a living?
Well, I saw a magician at my 3rd birthday party. I told my parents that's what I would do for the rest of my life. And I am doing it for the rest of my life. I've actually never worked another job. I've done magic full-time.
So, like, at what point did you realize, like, it's one thing to have, a dream as a kid.
Yeah.
What point did you realize, I'm actually pretty good at this?
I'm still waiting for that moment, but we'll see if it comes around. I think when I was 6 years old, I did my first paid gig. It was $50 in my parents' basement. And I thought, I could really do this. Like, this is something that could continue. But when I was 12, I got a mentor. His name is Scott Hamill. He taught me straitjacket escape. I got a world record when I was 18. And then I thought, Mom and Dad, look at me now. This is actually kind of working out.
And you kind of compare, you also do not just magic, but also comedy. How do you kind of pair the two together?
I try to do comedy, as you can tell. So I think of something totally ridiculous that I think a lot of other magicians wouldn't do.
Like we just saw?
And then, like you just saw. And then I decided to try it out. And you know what? The hardest part of doing this trick is actually I have something in my pocket.
Okay.
The hardest part is that I have to balance this shot glass inside my pocket the whole time.
What?
Which is really, yeah. And that's in my pocket.
And you've been moving. Okay, right. It's definitely dripping.
This has been your Fox 32 Chicago Week in Review. See you again next week.